Hey there, folks. This is DMC Jedi Man. I'm coming to you with another video. This is going to be the spoiler-filled review for Dragon Ball Super Superhero. So if you have not seen that movie yet, go check it out before watching this video, because I will be spoiling things in this video. Uh, First off, don't forget, if you like my content, be sure to like and subscribe, and keep your hit the bell icon to be notified of when I upload next. But let's get on into this. First off, let me apologize for how long it took me to actually get this review out, because I actually went to see this, opening day, which was August 19th. I've been a little busy with things as of late, so I haven't had a chance to actually sit down and, do the review until today. As of recording day, and will probably be upload day as well, this is September 4th. So, yeah, it's been a bit since I saw the movie, so I'm probably gonna, kind of read through the Wikipedia as I go to, you know, be able to do this beat for beat. Uh, so, yeah, in terms of things, the movie starts out with Magenta, who's the CEO of Red Ribbon Pharmaceuticals, which is, I guess, what the Red Ribbon Army eventually became after the fall of everyone who was, in charge. And I guess and Magenta, I should mention, he's Commander Red's son, and he and his assistant, Carmine, they want to recruit Dr. Hedo, who is actually the grandson of Dr. Gero. They want to recruit him to build new androids to destroy the Z fighters and take over the world. Now, Hedo isn't exactly a villain. He knows Red Ribbon's a villain, but he just wants to use their funds to, build his androids. He's also obsessed with superheroes, so he wants to make, the two androids he wants to build, Gamma 1, Gamma 2, he wants to make them into the ideal superheroes. So they recruit him, and there's this fun thing where he leaves the prison and blows it up. It's like, okay, he's not exactly a villain, but he's not really a hero either. He's kind of an anti-hero, I guess. So he tends to lean more towards villainy, I guess. Uh, anyway, as they're recruiting, and I should mention also before I move on from Hedo that he has this little bee that can kill a robot by stinging it. Also, Hedo's skin is, I guess, impervious to weapons, which is an interesting little trick. Anyway, while they're recruiting him, Goku and Vegeta are training on Beerus' world, and they have Broly, Cheelai, and Lemo with them. And this is the plot part of the movie that I actually could care less about. Like they could have cut this entire B plot and nothing would have been missed, because you see Goku and Vegeta briefly training on Beerus' world. They're training with Broly, and then Vegeta ends up, fighting Kakarot for a while, and you know, meanwhile Beerus has like an attachment to Cheelai, and you know, even though I'm pretty sure Cheelai would be classified as Broly's girl, and I don't think you want to fuck with Broly's girl, but he has like this crush on her, wants her not to get wet, wants kind of treating her like a goddess, which is kind of amusing. But they have this big ice cream, meal, and a bucket of ice, empty bucket of ice cream ends up covering Whis' staff. So when Bulma later calls for assistance, they can't hear and thus aren't available for the big fight. So anyway, while that's going on, Piccolo's training with Tan and is getting kind of annoyed by the fact that Videl and Gohan are being kind of horrible parents. Like they're counting on Piccolo to pick her up and do things with her because they can't be there for her, which is not good parenting. And Gohan really should know better. I mean, hell, they both should know better, because I don't. I mean, I can't really say for sure about Mr. Satan's parentage, because I know Videl's actual mom died when she was very young, And I can't imagine that Hercule was the best father, but since we never really see how he treats her, when younger, it's hard to say, but we do see how Goku raises Gohan, and Goku is a terrible father. One of the worst fathers in cartoon media of all time. Not the worst. I mean, obviously, in a world that has parents like Stan Smith and Peter Griffin, Goku isn't quite that bad, but I'd say he still makes the top 10, top 15 list of worst fathers in cartoons. you know. But anyway, so Piccolo gets attacked by an android named Gamma 2, and, there's a quick fight. Gamma 2 believes he's destroyed Piccolo and returns to the base, unknowing that Piccolo is in fact fine, and Piccolo follows him to the base and discovers, Red Ribbon's plans, dressing up as a Red Ribbon soldier. He also finds out, in addition to the plan to, destroy the Z Fighters, that there is a new version of Cell being developed called Cell Max. So so Piccolo goes to inform Bulma, asks her to contact Goku and Vegeta, which obviously goes nowhere because, of the stupid B plot shenanigans. Piccolo goes up to talk to Dende and, gets gets his potential unlocked from Shenron after remembering that that's something that, Guru had done for Piccolo and Krillin, or not Piccolo and Krillin, Gohan and Krillin. I got Piccolo on the brain, obviously, so that brings, Piccolo back up somewhat to strength relevancy. And then when Magenta's agents go to kidnap Pan, Piccolo sneaks in, disguised again as a Red Ribbon guard or soldier to help with it. He knocks out the other person with him and convinces Pan to go along with him. And Gohan, finds out that Pan's been abducted, and, he gets enraged and flies off to the Red Ribbon base, launches a full-scale assault on it and, fights Gamma 1. He actually powers up to his ultimate form doing this. And finally, Piccolo reveals, hey, I'm here too, and fights Gamma 2, and debuts a new form, Orange Piccolo, which is not bad. It really brings Piccolo back into the forefront of being, relevant. Carmine, gets knocked out by Pan, and they manage to convince, the Gammas that they're not evil, that the Red Ribbon is. And Magenta runs off and activates Cell Max. Now, Hedo is able to kill Magenta, but unable to stop this. Cell Max is the biggest problem I have with this new Dragon Ball film. He is a giant red version of Cell that does not speak. Instead, he just roars, like, roar. I mean, honestly, it just feels like fucking Harudegarn all over again from Wrath of the Dragon. Like, they could, instead of having it be a Cell, they could have just brought Harudegarn into canon, and it would have made no difference. Actually, it probably would have been an improvement, because at least Harudegarn, you expect him to be a roaring, mindless beast. With Cell, you expect some sophistication out of him. You expect him to taunt the Z Fighters, to be eloquent in describing how he's going to face feed them to the pavement. This Cell Max is a pale imitation of regular Cell, and I don't know if that was the the makers of this movie's intent, if that was what they intended, like, oh, he was activated prematurely, so he's not going to be like the normal Cell, but it just feels hollow. But either way, we get Cell Max, giant monster. Bulma arrives with Goten and Trunks, 18 and Krillin, and they all battle Cell Max. A fun little bit that happens is Goten and Trunks fuse into Gotenks, but they fuck up and become fat Gotenks. And there's some shades of Fusion Reborn where they're actually somewhat effective at battling Cell Max. Like they're not, they're not able to do a ton of damage, though they do, crack his skull, you know, showing that he doesn't really have the same regeneration and that the skull is the weak point. Gamma 2 sacrifices himself in an attempt to kill Cell Max, but it doesn't really work. And Pan finally learns to fly after Cell Max unleashes a huge destructive wave that, if Pan didn't fly, would have killed her. So Piccolo, grows to, giant size and attempts to fight Cell Max, having finally remembered that he can grow giant. Again, another little kind of slip out, like, oh yeah, I can become giant. Why didn't I do that? It seems a little weird that he only now remembers that. But unfortunately, even giant Orange Piccolo is no match for Cell Max and gets a brutal beatdown. And this causes Gohan to finally awaken a new form, which is referred to as Gohan Beast form or Saint Beast form, something like that. It's essentially Gohan's version of Goku's Ultra Instinct and Vegeta's Ultra Ego. You know, so it basically brings Gohan up to the same level of power as Goku and Vegeta. And I guess Piccolo's up there now. Apparently, and I guess I should say right now, spoilers for the manga. This is spoilers right now for the manga, so if you don't want to hear this part, then skip ahead a few minutes. But in the manga, Frieza now has a black form, which also puts him at that same level. Anyway, though, so Beast form Gohan charges up a special beam cannon, which goes through Cell Max's head and kills him. And with the battle over, Dr. Hedo and Gamma 1 are given positions in Capital Corporation. Of course, Gamma 2 died to try and stop Cell Max, so he's no longer around. Also, and then the movie just kind of ends with there is a post-credit scene where Goku and Vegeta have, get to the end of their, sparring match, and Vegeta beats him, and, Vegeta's all happy. He's like, I finally beat Kakarot! But, like I said, that B-plot didn't need to be there. But, yeah, overall, I did really enjoy Dragon Ball Superhero. The flaws are there, what little there are, don't overshadow the greatness of the movie. Like I said, the animation takes a bit to get used to, but in the end, it is, enjoyable. Uh, the B plot, like I said, could have been left out. Cell Max, I think, could have either been retooled to be a bit more, like the original Cell, or they could have just substituted Hirudegarn or some other new monster that we would never heard of. Like even if they made some brand new monster, having it be a mindless monster wouldn't have been as much of an insult as having it dubbed Cell. The humor was on point. There's a fun little bit that, Bulma keeps gathering the Dragon Balls to ask Shenron to make her look younger, which, you better stop misusing the Dragon Balls, Bulma. Maybe you're going to be creating some Shadow Dragons. I love the little bit with Gotenks, Gohan and Piccolo's new forms bring them back to the forefront of relevancy. Pan is awesome. And I did really enjoy Dr. Hedo, and even Magenta and Carmine were, pretty interesting characters. Overall, I do recommend seeing this either on the big screen or once it comes to video and streaming. But yeah, my overall grade for this movie, I would give it a B. It's not as enjoyable as some other Dragon Ball films I've seen, but it's no Bio Broly. You know, thank God for Bio Broly is awful. Anyway, this has been DMC Jedi Man, and I'm going to sign out. Peace, everybody.